The earliest mill on the stream of the West Branch of Stowe Creek was owned and operated by Thomas Parsons, at least by 1742. The first mill was put across the northern branch. I believe that the dam was located where Mill Pond Road crosses the pond. Due to a scarcity of water, they later moved it down so that they could take advantage of the streams that came in, and they moved it to the present location. The mill property was sold in the mid-1700s and was bought by the Wood family of Greenwich. The forebears of the family lived in the house presently occupied by the Woodland Country Day School, and they had founded several other mills, including the one in Millville. Samuel Wood took grain from his mills to Washington's troops at Valley Forge. On one trip, his son Jonathan Wood III accompanied him as he wished to see his old friend. Jonathan stayed at the Valley Forge to nurse a friend through smallpox and died of that same disease. Samuel Wood left the mill to his grandson, who sold it to John S. Wood, his father, brother, and grandfather of John Wood Maskell. This is how it came to be called Maskell Mill. It was operated continuously by the Maskell family or people employed by them until C.C. Heimbach bought it in 1927. John Maskell operated it for about 25 years, and then he turned it over to his son, and during the time that his son had it, they had a huge patriotic gathering over at Maskell Mill, and many people came there enlisted as volunteers in the Civil War. Unfortunately, many of them got tangled up in the Battle of the Wilderness and lost their lives. Because Thomas Maskell felt some sort of an obligation, he did his best to keep the widows and the children in flour and meal and anything else he had at the mill until finally, about 1870, it bankrupted him. Of course, he didn't own the mill, so the mill didn't go out of the family. There was a huge brass kettle that they used to make soap in. To keep that from being sold at the sale, he buried it or sank it in the mill pond until the sale was over. He had a lot of unfortunate things happen to him. He lost 3 of his own small children in 1 week from typhoid fever. His sister Hannah Maskell inherited the mill. My grandfather called her Aunt Hannah, and that's as much as I know about her. But she wound up owning the mill, and from that time on, there was a succession of Franklins that ran it, starting with John Franklin and winding up with Charles Franklin in my time. Well, they rebuilt Maskell Mill and built it much bigger and much sturdier, and the present structure is the one that they built in 1888. Frank Davis was the contractor, and Shirley Davis was his grandson or great-grandson, a man that I knew, always been in the construction business. It was a good mill. They had flour machinery on the second floor. They had an overshot wheel, and the Franklins ran it for several years, and then, about 1905, they refurbished it, and they put in new flour machinery on the second floor, what they would now call state-of-the-art, and they changed the overshot wheel to a turbine, and when Hannah Maskell died, she left the mill to Hannah Allen Casper, and Hannah Allen Casper kept the mill for a while, and the mill sort of ceased to be a center of activity in the area. At one time, it was a gathering place, and people took their wheat there and traded for flour, and they took their ear corn and their shelled corn and got it ground into cattle feed and chicken feed. But that sort of died out, and the new transportation and competition from South Jersey Farmers Exchange and GLF made the mill sort of run down. Well, consequently, she sold it to C.C. Heimbach in 1927, and he converted it into a summer home. Maskell's Mill Dam and spillway washed out in the flood of Labor Day weekend in 1940 and remained out until rebuilt in 1954. My brothers Louis, Edward, and I purchased the mill and from the late C.C. Heimbach estate. We had some humdinger parties there during the time we owned it. Samuel Williams and Brady Berry cooked possum, raccoon, venison, and duck with all the trimmings. We replaced the dam and the spillway in 1954. In 1956, we sold the lake to the state of New Jersey, Division of Fish and Game. In 1958, we auctioned off the mill and the adjoining woodland.